I knew my daughter was dying. They say it's better to have loved and lost than to never have loved at all. And sure, that's true. But they don't tell you how awful that truth can be. When I took a pregnancy test, I wasn't at all nervous. Sure, I had been feeling a bit sick and more emotional than normal, but really, I knew the test would read negative. I let the test sit on the bathroom counter and made myself a cup of coffee. When I came back, there it was. That little plus sign. My heart soared. I'm pregnant, I yelled. I burst out of the bathroom, leaving my coffee sitting by the bathroom sink and clutching the pregnancy test. I'm pregnant, I'm pregnant, I'm pregnant! My boyfriend Jason jumped out of bed. I scared him awake. What? Wait, what happened? He rubbed sleep from his eyes. His hair was all messed up and his face was confused. I laughed at him. I'm pregnant! I beamed. I showed him the test. Look, a little plus sign! He wrapped me in his arms and we swayed back and forth, taking in the best news ever. We spent the next few weeks discussing baby names, telling our families, talking about how we would redecorate the guest room into the baby's room, even looking up some information on the local elementary schools. I bought vitamins and books, and when I reached 20 weeks, we scheduled our first ultrasound. I couldn't wait for the ultrasound. I wanted a picture of my baby, even if it was just a black and white one that looked like all the other ultrasound photos. It would be the best photo because it was a photo of my baby. The ultrasound technician was really nice. She set me up and squeezed warm jelly on my belly and slid the transducer around. Her face gradually lost its smile, and the more she moved the transducer around, the more she grew concerned. With that same concerned look on her face, she asked me the question I'd been waiting so long to hear. Do you want to know the gender? The tech asked. I glanced quickly at Jason and we both nodded. Yes! It's a girl, the tech said. I was thrilled! I know I'm not supposed to say, but secretly I really wanted a girl. Saphira, I said. It was weird hearing the name out loud and knowing she was officially a real person. We are going to name her Saphira. What a wonderful name, the tech said. Still, the concerned look on her face didn't go away. When the ultrasound technician finished, she handed me the picture of Saphira and asked us to wait for the doctor. She led us into a consulting room. I knew that wasn't normal, and I started to be very worried. I stared at the picture of my little baby girl, and a million thoughts flashed in my mind. Is something wrong? Is she okay? I needed to know. Finally, a knock came on the door. The doctor had the same look of concern on her face. She took a seat in front of me and said, Well, we think there are some abnormalities with the fetus. You can diagnose if something is wrong this early? Jason asked. And just from an ultrasound? Well, no, the doctor said. The ultrasound is just a picture of the outside of your baby. However, the tech noticed certain patterns that suggest abnormalities. Your baby's heartbeat and a trait we called clenched fist. There is also a chance of some chromosomal abnormalities. I'd like to run a few tests, including an amniocentesis. What's that? I asked. Just the weird word itself and the doctor's serious tone made it sound scary. It's a more accurate test of the fetus's development, or if there is a genetic disorder. We insert a needle into your uterus and extract amniotic fluid. I was right. It was scary. Is my baby okay? I asked. Well, let's wait until we get the test results before we make any official diagnosis, the doctor said. I agreed to all the tests. Not fun. Not fun at all. Sure, the soreness after the amniocentesis wasn't too bad, but the worst part was the waiting. We didn't hear the results for 2 weeks. In those 2 weeks, I can't count the number of times I sat. Just sat, rubbing my own belly as if Saphira was already born and sleeping in my lap. I thought of all the bad things that might happen, all the good things that might happen, and everything in between. I waited and waited and waited. Finally, the doctor called. The tests came back. Saphira tested positive for trisomy 18, also known as Edwards syndrome. The next day, we were back in the doctor's office. "So, as you know," the doctor started, "the test came back for a genetic disorder. Trisomy 18 is a genetic disorder. Saphira was conceived with an extra chromosome. Chromosomes are strands of DNA. There are 46 total, 23 pairs, one from each parent. When the egg gets fertilized at conception, sometimes the sperm or the egg has too many or too few chromosomes." She reached out and touched my hand. I get that she was trying to comfort me, but it didn't really help. "You didn't do anything to cause this. It's just something random that happened." "What does that mean for Saphira?" Jason asked. I was too busy holding back tears to ask any questions. "Babies with such a disorder," the doctor said, "are not compatible with life." I burst into tears. I could barely hear what the doctor was saying over my own crying, the ringing in my brain, and the thoughts flooding my mind. "I'm very sorry for this outcome," the doctor said. "I know that this is difficult. However, we do have to discuss our next steps." "What are our options?" Jason asked. I focused on my breathing, in and out, in and out, slow, but still was not put together enough to ask questions. I understood everything they said, but it was all like a dream, like I wasn't really there. "If you wish, you can terminate the pregnancy. You'll have to do it soon," the doctor said. "State law prohibits termination after 24 weeks. We sat in silence for a moment. "If you choose to continue with the birth, it's important to understand that most issues like this prevent the fetus from fully developing and end in a loss of the baby or a stillbirth. Even if the baby is born, few reach adulthood." "So that's it?" Jason asked. "Our baby won't live?" "Again, the chances of a live birth are low, and there are no treatments for chromosomal abnormalities. However, if there are any birth defects, some of those might be solved with different operations. But your child will need special care and special attention for its entire life." I couldn't believe my ears. My world stopped in those moments. Why would God grant me a baby and then wouldn't let her live? I refused to acknowledge this. Saphira was going to live. I was going to do everything possible to give her a chance. Over the next few months, I met with heart specialists. I researched everything I heard about but found no answers. No heart surgeon in my state would accept to do the operation. These babies are fragile. Doctors really don't know much about it. So most doctors won't do anything for it. I heard someone mention a doctor in Omaha who performed surgeries on babies with trisomy 18 and 13. Jason and I drove to Omaha to meet with the doctor, and they put me through test after test after test. I held on to hope as long as I could, but eventually I needed to let Saphira go. She was too small for an operation, the doctors told me. Even if she survived up until birth, they said, she would likely be blind or have some other disability. She'd have to get multiple heart operations for the first part of her life. She would need a breathing tube and a feeding tube and would be in constant discomfort and pain. And after all those operations, after all the discomfort and distress, she still might not live. It was the most difficult and heartbreaking decision. Jason and I decided the best thing for her was to let go. We spent all the time we could with her, but we knew we were borrowing time. On June 14th, 2019, Saphira came into this world with her angel wings already spreading. I never saw her open her eyes. I never heard her cry, but I will never regret knowing her. I will remember every little tiny kick in my belly. Every minute I spent staring at my baby bump, imagining what she'd look like. Every conversation Jason and I had about how we loved our child. I felt her life. I felt her will to live. And I will never regret carrying my beautiful, hungry for life baby girl. My Saphira taught me how much love there is in the world, more love than I could ever have imagined, and that love made it worth letting it all go.